Hi there, I'm Peter Hawley, President and CEO of Fabled Silver Gold Corp. Well, a lot's been going on since 2023, and you're probably wondering, what is going on? We put out a press release, whereas we had to rescind or give up the Santa Maria property due to the economic conditions of availability of funds. And as you notice within our news release that we put out, that the money had, or I thought, the money should go in the ground rather than paying someone and not finding what is in the ground. Needless to say, we moved on. Part of our work in 2022 and 2023 was using the information that we learned from the Santa Maria property, and especially the north-south structures and what that meant with an intersection with the northwest structures, and in particular, the gold domains. We used this knowledge and applied it to the camp. And we spent the summer traveling around, sampling and looking at structural connotations and also rock types. And this led us to Mechatonia, or as I call it, Meca. The Meca property we'll discuss in further detail very shortly. But meanwhile, a few of you have been asking some questions, and I've received some emails and I'd like to answer them now. One question was, what happens to all the data that we generated on the Santa Maria? Who does it belong to? Well, that data belongs to Golden Minerals, and they will receive the raw data plus the drill core. But any structural interpretation or any interpretation of any of that data, either on the property or off the property, belongs to us. And so that is proprietary. So we're way ahead of the game on that. Another question someone has asked me is, Peter, is there any hope? Are we going to get through this? Well, you know what? I can't answer that. I can tell you I'm doing my very best, and it is a bad mining time. But you know what? We own this 100%. This will not go away. And as such, we currently are outlining an exploration program on Meca. So without further ado, let me tell you about Mecatona Property. Mechatonia is located on Mexico's epithermal silver gold belt, where over 5 billion ounces of silver has been produced. As you know, location is everything, and Mechatonia is located 7 kilometers southeast of Santa Barbara and the Santa Maria property, and also 10 kilometers due south of Parral in the state of Chihuahua. Now, the mining-friendly jurisdiction of Parral has produced over 800 million ounces of silver, and multi-major operations in the vicinity, including 3 toll mills within a 20-kilometer distance by road. Now, why Mechatonia? What's so interesting about it? Well, the Mechatonia is hosted in a volcanic-dominant geological setting, regionally known as Sierra Madre Volcanic Province. And why it's so interesting is, in Parral proper, where over 300 million ounces have been produced, and we find Endeavor Silver and Gold exploring in that area, that has a collapsed caldera. And within that embedded caldera is breccias and north-south structures. If you go 10 kilometers south, what do you find? Find the same setting. Collapsed caldera, breccias in the northwest corner, and also in the northeast, the north-south structures. Furthermore, the property is part of a larger productive system within the Parral district. And this includes, and you have to remember this includes the Santa Barbara and the San Francisco del Oro mining facilities. And on top of that, much larger deposits. The Mecatonia property consists of 2,857 hectares and a silver-dominant epithermal mineral system, hosted in veins and breccias, as I mentioned. One anomalous structure has been traced for over 1.7 kilometers north to south and remains open on strike. And on top of that, another anomalous area defined or explored by the previous owners outlines stockwork and quartz veinlets within an 80-meter wide argillitic alteration zone. Now you're probably wondering, what the heck is an argillitic alteration zone? And that's an alteration zone that usually indicates that there is mineralization underneath. Going downwards, and you've probably seen this slide before from our presentations on Santa Maria, we have the northwest trending Endeavor Silver, Kootenay Silver, and 500 million ounce plus silver deposit of Grupo Mexico. And going due south from Parral, we have the Mechatonia. And the intersection of those two structures is exactly where Mechatonia is, or Meca. And again, I stress, this is a collapsed caldera system. On a regional setting, and as you can clearly see, in the northwest, you have the Mechatonia breccias. Then we have the Mechatonia Northwest Zone, which is quite unique in itself, and I'll be talking about that. Then we have the caldera, and within the caldera, we have old rhyolites, which contain the north-south structures. And then to the south, we have a younger rhyolites, which blanket everything. Now let's talk about Mechatonia Nordeste, or Northeast, the first of the showings. In 2018, Kootenay Silver took 78 samples, which included both channel and grab samples on the property, with silver values ranging from a high of 735 grams per ton and gold values running from trace to 6.94 grams per ton gold. Also, base metals were present within the mineralized system, with lead and zinc values ranging from 3.5% to 8% respectively. As I mentioned before, the property covers a silver-dominant epithermal mineralized system hosted in veins and breccias. Now, interesting to note, to the west, several small active mines operated by local gambazinos, or that's prospectors, and it's approximately 1.5 kilometers west of the property, are reported to host high-grade silver values greater than 1 kilo per ton at depth. This is important, and I'll mention it later on. As you can clearly see, here is approximately part of the 1.7 kilometer trend, where you can see the various silver values trending 360 degrees, or almost north-south. Values ranging from 145 grams to 97 grams at the other end. And immediately to the west, we have a second zone running parallel, which has yet to be explored in its full length, and samples taken there 328 grams of silver. Within the property, you see hairline quartz veinlets with argillitic alteration. This one grades 328 grams per ton, and again up to 40 meters wide thin quartz veinlets within a breccia zone. Now let's go to zone number 2, Mecatonia Northwest Sector. This one I really like, and I'll explain why. The highlights of the 2019 exploration program by Kootenay Silver consisted of 51 samples, 29 chip samples averaging 1 meter in length, 17 grab samples taken from the ground, and 5 dump samples taken from historical workings. And this new zone returned silver values averaging, averaging 110 grams with a high of 486 grams per ton silver. Additional highlights of all the samples taken within the mineralized zones include 12 of the 51 samples grading greater than 100 grams per ton silver. Furthermore, the average of 51 samples assayed for copper was 1.7% copper, and with 30 samples returning greater than 1%. Now, we believe that this property has the potential to host various high-grade vein-type silver deposits and has the potential for bulk mining. Here, and this is where it gets interesting. In this slide, here you can see finely bedded to laminated hornsville or skarn of the carbonaceous turbidites. Same thing you see in the Parral camp. The sample location here returned 418 grams per ton silver and 2.79% copper. In addition, sampling over another area returned 89 grams of silver and 4.13% copper over a channel sample width of 1.3 meters. Another area, channel sampled 93 grams of silver and 1.25% copper over 2 meters. And we see mantles replacing the bedding with copper-bearing goethite. And this example, sample RG150. An RG150 returned only 60 grams of copper, but 2.76% copper. Now, what's interesting about this is that these skarn-type deposits can be quite large in size. And in this area, exposed on surface, is 400 meters by approximately 200 to 250 meters in width. All copper bearing with silver mineralization. What's the size under the ground? We don't know. And we don't know on anything what happens under the ground because there's never been any drilling. And that's the upside of the deposit, which I'll discuss as we wrap things up. Now let's go to the third zone that is of interest. Next to the skarn deposit, the copper silver skarn deposit, we have the big breccias. And some of these breccias, the class or the particles in them, are up to 1 meter in diameter, so very large scale, and some you can see up to 2 meters in size. And these breccias grade in silver. And as you can see in this example from old workings, sample LM2573 assayed 205 grams per ton silver, and dump samples of old workings returned 169 and 291 grams per ton silver. Now, why is this so important? Number one, very unique setting. Number two, we have 3 known mineralized zones starting on surface, visual, one for over 1.7 kilometers, trending north to south, and represents a silver gold breccia, which we saw at the Santa Maria. And then on top of that, in the northwest, we have a bulk tonnage for copper and silver. And against that, we have these large mega breccias, which run in silver. So all of it has the potential for a silver domain over a large area. Why is this important? As I mentioned previously, this has never been drilled before. And why this is important is, and I'll give you an example, Fresnillo, to the southeast of us, has produced over 1 billion ounces of silver. And if you go to Fresnillo and look on surface, you'll see a vein, and it's approximately 20 to 30 centimeters in width, and would, if you sample it, would grade 20 to 50 grams per ton silver. If you go down 200 meters, it'll be grading 1 kilo per silver. And if you go down 300 meters, now you're up to 3 kilos per silver. And presently, Fresnillo and Mag Silver are exploiting or getting ready to exploit one of these high-grade deposits at depth. So why could that happen to us? Well, I'll say this to you. 1.5 kilometers to the west, we have the local Gambazinos at 100 meters vertically from surface, and they're mining a little over 1 kilo of silver. So all this silver that we're seeing on surface, plus the big copper skarn, does that represent a large system? So what's the plan forwards? The plans forwards is that we're fully funded for exploration on our 100% owned Mecatonia property. A maiden National Instrument 43101 report is presently being compiled. And the company's exploration results that we've done during 2022 and 2023 will be released during the year. And also, shortly, you will be hearing an announcement of the property-wide exploration program for 2023. So, in summary, investment, expertise, exploration, execution. Why? Why should we give you another chance? Well, here's what I have to say. The Parral Silver Camp is a look-alike. Similar geology, similar veining, intersection of two dominant silver trends. The Mecatonia property is 2,857 hectares in size and 100% owned. To compare that to the Santa Maria was 127 hectares. Number 3, no modern day exploration. Other than sampling on surface, there's never been any geophysics, there's never been any LiDAR, any drone work, or any drilling. As you know, we consolidate our shares, and after the purchase of the Mecatonia property, we will have a total of 45 million shares of it. And as you know, management has numerous years of experience in Mexico at all stages of exploration, development, and production. So follow us as we explore for silver in Mecca.